parado, y lo que pasa ahora es que ha saltado el estado de sector a todo.
Well, guys, once again, good evening. Welcome to our session. De alguna manera, podemos decir que oficialmente arranca como la segunda semana. Igual, pues yo sé que ustedes siendo muy presente, que basados en nuestro calendario, pues ya el martes de la próxima semana es el día del examen final. Recuerden que siente que como que se extiende un poquito más debido a que el lunes es festivo y los festivos nunca tendremos clase. Beatriz la semana pasada preguntaba precisamente, creo que fue Beatriz, referente a Semana Santa, y en Semana Santa tampoco vamos a tener clase. También quería como volver a aclararles ese pequeño detalle. Eh, Aspectos importantes a tener en cuenta en nuestro calendario, pues partiendo que la clase 10 viene siendo el martes 21, que es el día del examen final, quiere decir que nuestra clase 9 es la del viernes y el día 16, que viene siendo nuestra clase 8, es el día en el cual, digamos, oficialmente vamos a empezar a trabajar en el tema del proyecto. Yo la semana pasada les había compartido un link para que me escribieran el tema del cual se iba a tratar su proyecto. Les he insistido mucho en el detalle, tal vez, de que escoger muy bien el tema. Uno, algo que les permita pues hablar, porque no bastante. Y recuerden que de este tema se va a estar trabajando durante todo el B1, que B1.1, punto 2, punto 3, en cada uno de ellos, pues digamos que se les solicita ciertas partes particulares, pero todo nace de este tema que escogen acá. Les decía que el plazo, pues escoger, idealmente es que sea por mucho hasta mañana, ya que el día jueves vamos a empezar a trabajar sobre eso y no quiero que llegue el jueves y me digan que todavía no saben, porque recuerden que el viernes viene siendo, digamos que el envío oficial de esta primera entrega. Entonces, por el momento, no me han escogido tema todavía Sergio David, Dana Valentina, Juan Sebastián, lo que creo que los que estoy nombrando son de San Sergio. Hamilton, no me he escogido tema. Siempre faltan bastantes. Jessica Paola, Caterina Alexandra, Marlon Decid, Mendy Fabián y Vanessa Zambrano. Les recuerdo de pronto por si ustedes dicen, pero yo no tengo el link. Como ya lo subí, el archivo, por decirlo así, a la carpeta que está compartida, entonces en el link que les compartí al inicio del ciclo, la presentación de la carpeta que nos lleva materiales, ahí también lo encuentran. De todas maneras, se los envío por acá nuevamente para que pues refresquen la memoria y no se les olvide colocar el tema. ¿Listo? Para que lo pongan presente. Felicito muy juiciosamente a Karen Victoria, Steven Santiago, Kiara Lisset, está acá ya Jorge, Natalia, Diego Fernando, Manuela, Beatriz y Xiomara Caterine, perdón, me faltan Manuel Alberto y María Alejandra. Los demás los invito para que no se les olvide. No sé si de pronto tengan alguna pregunta de esta parte. Hay una mano levantada, cuénteme. Ay, no alcancé a ver,
Dice,
Hamilton, señor.
yo es que quería preguntar si el evento podría ser, no sé, un viaje, algo así, o
Un
no.
viaje, sí, o sea, la idea es que sea algo que para ustedes sea un evento de sus vidas, ¿listo? No tiene que ser obligatoriamente, digamos, la graduación, que la graduación obviamente es quizás uno de los temas más comunes y que aplica, o sea, algo que eventualmente les permita a ustedes hablar de ese tema, de alguna manera, como para que tengan una pista también de, bueno, y como, ¿por qué lado me voy? Ahí en la misma carpeta donde ustedes eventualmente me van a subir esta primera entrega, está la información del proyecto. Que la otra vez hemos dicho que quedó todo chiquitico.
Sí, teacher, por lo que digamos yo decía, bueno, para los ciclos, entonces ¿será que si alcanza, no sé, el viaje o tiene que ser algo más importante o no sé?
Usted es el que decide, Hamilton, porque digamos en este caso, para esta, digamos para esta entrega, básicamente, ¿qué se tiene que hablar? Type of event, when it happened, how it happened, who was part of the event, why it is important, que eso siempre va a ser una percepción muy personal de por qué para usted es importante. Si para usted el viaje es súper importante, pues ¿por qué? Precisamente. How you felt, and a full deep description of the scenario. Entonces va a contar todo el contexto. Entonces, si para usted un viaje le parece que es una buena historia para contar, perfecto. Entonces, aquí en la, sí, en el material, básicamente. Lo que les decía, de pronto ustedes al mirarlo, ya le di la palabra a Beatriz, al mirar como los parámetros, lo que se está pidiendo, ustedes dicen, bueno, tal evento me sirve. Un ejemplo, voy a decir algo al azar, usted dice, no, pero es que del viaje casi no quiero contar tales cosas. Algo que siempre les he recalcado desde el primer día y es, escojan un tema del cual ustedes quieran hablar, ¿listo? No escojan algo muy personal que luego ustedes se sientan incómodos más adelante, esa no es la intención. Un tema del que uno puede sacar todos esos parámetros y que pues ustedes se sientan cómodos hablando. Listo, Hamilton. Yes, Beatriz.
Ah, ok, Miss, es que tenía la misma inquietud, porque como vi que varios hablaban de graduación, viajes, pues lo mío es un poco más como atípico. Pensaba que, pues, porque estuve mirando por internet y pues la mayoría dicen graduación, bautizo. ¿Es necesariamente eso o uno puede algo muy personal? Por ejemplo, yo quiero hablar algo sobre el COVID me cambió la vida. ¿Ese título está bien o...?
Sí, Beatriz, claro, para usted es un evento
Ok,
importante de su vida. Perfectamente.
ok.
Sí, yo siento que quizás el de los que se llevan protagonismo son graduación y bautismo, que no está mal, para nada. Pero si ustedes quieren hablar de otro evento, como les decía, la pista, me atrevo a decir, la guía tal vez está acá. Según las preguntas o según los aspectos que se les están pidiendo, ustedes pueden hacer como una clasificación de qué eventos servirían y qué eventos no. Entonces, es eso. Para las personas que ingresaron hace poco, les estaba como refrescando la memoria respecto a que este ciclo tenemos que escoger un lifetime event y que la idea es que ustedes desde ya me digan de qué tema van a hablar. Y pues estaban preguntando de que si necesariamente era una graduación, un bautismo. No, un momento, un evento de sus vidas que para ustedes sea relevante, nuevamente, usando esas preguntitas como nuestro punto de referencia. Entonces, guys, la idea es que a más tardar mañana, lo que les digo para que ustedes ya tengan como claro de qué van a estar trabajando, sobre qué más bien van a estar trabajando el próximo jueves, que es nuestra clase 8 y es como que el día oficial, por decirlo así, que se asigna tiempo en las sesiones para que ustedes empiecen a trabajar sobre el tema. Entonces, creo que lo volví a enviar al chat si no estoy mal. Sí. Para los que no, siempre faltan bastantes personas. Siento que sí, muchas personas a estas alturas. Quiero pensar que mañana ya pues no se van a pasar. ¿Listo? Guys, any other question? It's time to take attendance. Bueno. Karen Victoria Acevedo.
Present, teacher.
Ok. Steven Santiago Fonseca.
Here, teacher.
Ok. Sergio David Gómez.
Present, teacher.
Ok. Kiara Lizeth Martínez.
Present, teacher.
Ok. Jorge Jair Moreno.
Present, teacher.
Ok. Natalia Navarro.
Present.
Ok. Diego Fernando Olarte.
Present.
Ok. Dana Valentina Ortiz. Didn't I see her? No. Manuela Ortiz.
Yes, teacher.
Ah, ok. Era Manuela. Joan Sebastián Pavón.
Present, Miss.
Joan Sebastián. Ese no era Sebastián. Beatriz Pedraza.
En Miss.
Okay. Hamilton Peña.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Xiomara Caterina Rincón.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Jessica Paola Ríos.
Present teacher.
Okay. Catherine Alexandra Rodríguez. Not here.
Present, Miss.
Ok, lo siento, me aceleré, lo siento, Catherine, yes. Marlon Yesid Sánchez.
Present, teacher.
Ok. Mendy Fabián Santa.
Present, teacher.
Ok. Manuel Alberto Sepúlveda.
Present, teacher.
Ok. María Alejandra Vega.
Present, teacher.
Ok. And Vanessa Zambrano.
Profe, qué pena, es que se me fue el internet cuando me nombró a mí. ¿Sí me notó como presente?
Valentina Ortiz. No,
No sé si me
te habías caído ya. Hago el ajuste
Ok.
inmediatamente. Listo, Valentina.
Vale, gracias.
Y Vanessa Zambrano. Y acá. Y creo que acabo de ingresar. ¿Ya es Vanessa? Vanessa. Ya responderá. So for the moment, the one that is absent is Joan Sebastian. Vanessa technically is here. I'll wait for her answer. Okay. Well, guys, let's continue. Remember that today we continue working on our unit 2. Just to refresh your memory, we're working on pages 20 and 21. The whole idea of tonight is talking about, first of all, listening and vocabulary, and the context in general aspects is about childhood and upbringing. Okay. Yes, Vanessa, you are here. Listo. That is going to be the idea. Technically, today we finish unit 2. Okay, so one of the aspects that we study when we're talking about childhood and upbringing is also a grammatical component. Today is a little bit related to grammar. So we're going to refresh our memory, hopefully about a topic that you know pretty well. Well, guys, let's have a look at page 20. I took this information from the page, okay? Because then otherwise we have to move it like back and forth, because the pictures are here and the questions are here, so it was a little bit complicated. But at the end of the day, it's exactly the same information that we have in our book on page 20. I'm going to read the instruction for you. It says, read about Minsu or Emily. She has like the two names, and Rafael. You will hear them describe their upbringing. Guys, first of all, do you remember the meaning of upbringing? Childhood probably is something that you already know. What about upbringing? Just like to refresh your memory. Let's see the chat. Okay, some problems with connection. Yeah, guys, what's the meaning of upbringing? Let's look it up in case that you don't remember. What is upbringing? I'm waiting for your answer. Anybody? The person who finds the meaning of the word upbringing. Let's see the chat. Marlon says crianza. Basically, that's the idea. So notice that this is going to be the information that basically we will listen about in the listening in a moment. Let's have a look at the mini description that we have in here. Let me ask, in this case, Sergio, could you read this paragraph that we have here next to the pictures, please?
Rafael Martin, 27, who is half Spanish and half British, grew up and went to school in the same part of London as my son, Emily. Kim, 28, whose family is Korean, however, their upbringings were very different.
Absolutely. Although notice that it says, thank you, Sergio, that they were living in the same city, probably the fact that his family was British, and well, part of his family was British, and in the section or the situation for Emily was that she was Korean, her process of, let's say, growing up was very different for both of them. Based on this paragraph, and based on what we already know, what topics do you think they will mention? What do you think they will talk about? For the moment, we're just like predicting. What do you think, guys? What topics they will mention?
Teacher, maybe on special dates
Okay.
or mm, about their neighborhoods.
Okay, could be special dates, neighborhoods, good, Kiara. Yeah, it's usually in this case, for the moment we are predicting. Let's see how similar your answers can be. Any other possibility, guys? Sorry, what do you think would be the topics that they describe in their interventions?
Nationality.
Talking about their nationalities, okay, that can have a huge impact, right? On how they were, once again, as the word says, their whole upbringing.
The difference between their families.
Okay, that is a very good one, Jorge. The differences between their families. One more, maybe? Any other possible prediction of what we are going to listen about? Well, we'll see. Let's go back to the book. Remember, guys, that we are working on page 20. You already know that we are going to listen about their upbringing. I invite you to take notes, also to pay attention to the information that they are going to present. Sorry, I'm gonna read the instruction for you. It says, listen to Min Sun Emily. Notice that we have, let's say, her Korean name, that is Min Sun, sorry, and her English name, let's put it like that, which is Emily, and Rafael. Which things below were? Things their parents permitted, things they didn't permit, and things they insisted on. So Rafael is going to talk about 5 different aspects. Let's see the 5 aspects that he's going to talk about. Xiomara, please, could you read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from Rafael?
Okay, teacher. Rafael, one, going to bed on time. Number 2, being mean to his sister. Number 3, playing in the street with his friends. Number 4, hanging out in town with his friends. Number 5, staying out late at the weekend.
That would be it, Xiomara. Thank you very much. Sorry. Guys, from the first 5 aspects that Rafael is going to talk about, do you have any question related to vocabulary? No questions for the moment? Okay. What about Winston or Emily? We already know that she has 2 names. Karen, would you read the 5 topics that she will discuss, please?
Emily.
Mhm.
Okay, first is playing at friends' houses,
Also, very good. Mhm.
going for sleepovers, going out in the evenings, playing the piano, getting us in schoolwork.
Getting A's. Mhm. Okay. Well, guys, this is what you are going to do. Remember, the two of them are talking about these 5 aspects. You have to decide based on what they say, which of them their parents permitted, they didn't permit, and they insisted on. So I'm gonna use one as an example. For example, Rafael is talking about going to bed on time. So when you listen to it, you have to decide if in front of number 1, you put A, B, or C, okay? You will notice when you listen that in the case of number 1 is C. He is talking about things that his parents insisted on. Usually we know that parents insist on children that they should go to bed on time, right? So that is going to be the idea. You have to put one of these letters, A, B, or C, in front of the statement that they are talking about, okay? Guys, is the instruction clear?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. We only have 3 possibilities, A, B, or C. Guys, the track actually takes 4 minutes. We're going to listen twice. So it is very important that, of course, we check information, that we pay attention to the details. After we listen to it, then we're going to check the answers. Different from other cases that I told you, okay, maybe we can listen a 3rd time, blah, blah, blah. In this case, it is going to be only twice. It's already like 8 minutes. So we have to make sure that in those 2 times we get the information. And I'm sure you will, okay? Let's listen.
Unit 2, recording 5. Basically, my upbringing was fairly easygoing, I guess. I mean, my parents used to have rules. We had to do our homework and we had to go to bed at a certain time. And we would get into trouble if we were rude, or if me and my sister were mean to each other. They used to punish us sometimes if we did something really naughty. They would stop our pocket money or send us to bed early. But I don't remember a lot of punishments.
My parents were very strict. They didn't believe in giving us freedom and allowing us to choose things for ourselves. We didn't used to go to friends' houses to play after school, and they didn't allow sleepovers because we had to study. Even when I was 18, I couldn't go out in the evenings with my friends because of exams.
We had quite a lot of freedom. I mean, generally, if we wanted to do things, we could. After school, we used to play in the street with our friends. Football or skateboarding or something. Or we'd go inside and play games on the computer. When I was about 11, I used to love going into town with my friends and hanging out. I thought I was really cool. And my parents were fine with that. We had a few fights about things when I was a teenager. I got my ear pierced without telling them when I was about 15, and my mum didn't like that. There were 1 or 2 things like that, but generally it was cool. I could go out with my friends when I wanted to, and they didn't mind if I stayed out late.
We didn't choose which activities we did. My parents decided. My mum decided that my brother and I should both learn the piano, so that's what we did. We used to practice for 2 hours every day after school, and more at the weekend. Occasionally I argued with my mum about piano practice, and then my dad would really tell me off, and I used to feel very ashamed. In Korean culture, you should always show respect to your parents.
Schoolwork was quite important to my mum and dad. They would get angry if we got into trouble at school. But they also encouraged us a lot, and they didn't often criticise us. Mum always used to say, "Just do your best. That's all you can do."
My parents were especially strict about schoolwork. They expected us to get A's in every exam and every piece of work. I remember once my brother didn't get a very good mark in a test, and my dad got really, really angry. My mum bought some books, and he had to do hours and hours of extra homework until he improved. They did praise us, but you had to be really excellent at something before they praised you. You really had to work to get their praise. It sounds a bit hard, but we accepted it because the other Korean parents we knew were the same with their kids. So it was normal for us. I'm not sure if I will bring my children up the same way, but I think actually my parents have given me a lot of confidence in myself. I know that if I work really hard, I can do anything. And I think that's a very good lesson in life.
Let's listen the second time. Remember that after this one, we are going to check the exercise.
Unit 2, Recording 5. Basically, my upbringing was fairly easygoing, I guess. I mean, my parents used to have rules. We had to do our homework and we had to go to bed at a certain time. And we would get into trouble if we were rude, or if me and my sister were mean to each other. They used to punish us sometimes if we did something really naughty. They would stop our pocket money or send us to bed early. But I don't remember a lot of punishments.
My parents were very strict. They didn't believe in giving us freedom and allowing us to choose things for ourselves. We didn't used to go to friends' houses to play after school, and they didn't allow sleepovers because we had to study. Even when I was 18, I couldn't go out in the evenings with my friends because of exams.
We had quite a lot of freedom. I mean, generally, if we wanted to do things, we could. After school, we used to play in the street with our friends. Football or skateboarding or something. Or we'd go inside and play games on the computer. When I was about 11, I used to love going into town with my friends and hanging out. I thought I was really cool. And my parents were fine with that. We had a few fights about things when I was a teenager. I got my ear pierced without telling them when I was about 15, and my mum didn't like that. There were one or two things like that, but generally it was cool. I could go out with my friends when I wanted to, and they didn't mind if I stayed out late.
We didn't choose which activities we did. My parents decided. My mum decided that my brother and I should both learn the piano, so that's what we did. We used to practice for 2 hours every day after school, and more at the weekend. Occasionally I argued with my mum about piano practice, and then my dad would really tell me off, and I used to feel very ashamed. In Korean culture, you should always show respect to your parents.
Schoolwork was quite important to my mum and dad. They would get angry if we got into trouble at school. But they also encouraged us a lot, and they didn't often criticise us. Mum always used to say, "Just do your best. That's all you can do."
My parents were especially strict about schoolwork. They expected us to get A's in every exam and every piece of work. I remember once my brother didn't get a very good mark in a test, and my dad got really, really angry. My mum bought some books, and he had to do hours and hours of extra homework until he improved. They did praise us, but you had to be really excellent at something before they praised you. You really had to work to get their praise. It sounds a bit hard, but we accepted it because the other Korean parents we knew were the same with their kids. So it was normal for us. I'm not sure if I will bring my children up the same way, but I think actually my parents have given me a lot of confidence in myself. I know that if I work really hard, I can do anything. And I think that's a very good lesson in life.
Okay, it was a lot of information, but I'm sure that you noticed that both upbringings were quite different one from the other. Let's start with the things their parents permitted. You already noticed that for me, Son and Emily, actually, they didn't permit anything. That situation applied more to Rafael. I would like to ask Jorge. Which of, let's say, Rafael's topics were actually permitted by his parents?
Number 3 and number 5.
Number 3 and number 5. Okay. No more, Jorge?
No, teacher.
That would be it. Thank you. Sergio, do you agree with Jorge or would you add an extra topic? Sergio? Bueno, díganle que lo llamé. Diego, what do you think?
I disagree, teacher. I add the number 4.
You add number 4. Okay, very good. Those were the 3 aspects that actually were permitted by Rafael's parents. As I was telling you, well, you already noticed this. I'm not telling you like anything new. Let's change the color, something that we can actually see. In the case of Emily's parents, they actually weren't that permissive. Let's have a look at B, things they didn't permit. I would like to ask Vanessa, from Rafael's side, which were the aspects that his parents actually didn't permit? Part B.
Teacher 2.
Number 2, absolutely, being mean to his sister. Thank you. And let me ask from Minsan, from Emily, Beatriz, which of these aspects her parents didn't permit?
Number 3.
Going out in the evenings. Very good. Do you have another one or only that one?
That one I hear, teacher.
Okay, very good. Catherine, yes, tell us.
Miss, number 2, going for slow powers, and number 1, playing at friend's house.
Absolutely. Actually, they didn't permit any of those aspects to Emily. Very good. We already had number 1. Let me choose a different color that we can actually see differently. I think this one. The aspects that her parents, well, their parents insisted on. What do you think? Well, we already know that from Rafael. We only have 1 left, which we're going to bed. In the case of Minsan, they insisted on that she had like to play the piano and getting A's in schoolwork. Guys, did you remember this meaning, getting A's?
Sacar as.
Sacaron 10 el equivalente.
Yeah, yeah, because well, probably most of you are too young, but usually in the past, an A, if we say A in Spanish, was like aceptable and it wasn't that good. But in English, we mean like a really, really good grade, like probably 10s. Yes, Santiago.
Teacher, I have a due about the Raphael's statements about the number 5. Don't, during the audio, Raphael said that, well, his parents allowed him stay out late at the weekend till they get 15 years old. After that, his mom get problems with him for that. Or I'm wrong.
Well, but at the end of the day, he was allowed, you know, different probably if we compare to Emily, that she wasn't allowed at any point in her life. Actually, he had an opportunity to stay out late at the weekend. Maybe there were some changes, but at the end of the day, that was a choice. A choice, no possibility. Okay, guys, very good. Let's go back to the presentation because now we're going to move to first individual activity. Let's call it like that. Here we have some questions. Of course, they were taken from the book. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to think of the answer of these questions. Of course, my invitation as well for you to take some notes of those ideas that come up. The 2 questions says, was your upbringing more similar to Min's and Emily's or Rafael's? In what ways? And how will or do you bring up your children? Is this different from your upbringing? Of course, some of you already have children, some of you don't have, some of you won't plan on having, but let's talk about like the future in general aspects. So you're going to compare yourselves to Rafael and Emily, basically, that is the idea. As I was telling you, I invite you to take some notes. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to first individually analyze these questions that we have in here. And then after those 5 minutes, we are going to do a collaborative work, okay? We already clarified the meaning of upbringing, but I would like to ask you, do you have any questions related to the instructions?
Yes, teacher, is clear.
Okay, so no questions, it's clear. Very good. So guys, 5 minutes is starting now. Remember, for the moment, take some notes. I know that some of you have really good memory, but notice that then the next part will be for you to socialize your answers. So it would be nice for you to have some notes already taken. 5 minutes is starting now. Okay, guys, thumbs up. Now we're going to move to the collaborative part. Remember that as you already read here on our slide, you will be sent to breakout rooms. The idea, guys, is that all of you will share your answers. Also, the idea, guys, is that you as a group, you're going to summarize your answers. In this case, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to do it on a Padlet. I'm sure that you are already familiar with this app. When you get to the Padlet, the idea that you click here on this kind of red pink button that appears in order to write down what your ideas are. Let me share the screen with you so I can show you how it looks like. You just click on here. In Asunto, you can write down your names, and here that says, escribe algo increíble, you're going to write down your answers, okay? When you consider you have already finished summarizing the questions, remember the idea that all of you as a group collect one final, let's put it like that, answer, not like 3 or 4 different answers. That's not the idea. The idea that all of you guys chip in order to have that complete and final conclusion from the answers. And then you officially click on publicar. Okay, of course, it doesn't look as ugly as this one in here. In case that you need to make any additions, you can do it. You can eliminate your own post. Okay, you can't eliminate, of course, your classmates' post. Eliminar, sí. I would do it, but because I'm the, let's say, the owner or the one in charge of the administrator of this Padlet in particular, but we can't eliminate others' posts. Okay, so first, of course, I'm going to send you the link to the Padlet. So when you guys consider you have already collected the information, you just have to remember, click on here. Let me close here. Don't forget to write down your names, and here you are going to read your your answers. Okay, remember that the intention is to summarize the answers that you got after analyzing these 2 kind of 4 questions that we have in here. Do you have any questions about the instructions, guys? Okay. Let me create the groups. I thought that I had seen a repeated name, but maybe I'm mistaken. Yeah. Okay, guys, so remember, you summarize your answers, then you create like a final conclusion from all the answers collected. You upload them here. Well, I can see that you can actually have access to it already. Here I see when you are writing down, okay? When you send it, it officially appears. I'm sure that most of you already know this app, maybe different from when we work on the share PowerPoints, you know, that you can actually see the answers of the others while they are writing them down. In this case, until we send here, until we click on Publicar, that's the moment when we finally see our answer. So don't worry about it, okay? Guys, in total, you're going to have 15 minutes. Anyway, I will be checking here the Padlet to know how you are advancing on the task. You already have the questions. You already analyzed the information. Let's share. Manuela, do you have any problems to go to the group? Excellent. Let's start. Yes, Manuela? Next.
Teacher,
Tell me.
¿será que me puedes pasar a otro grupo? Es que las chicas no han hablado y pues no puedo hacer bien la actividad.
Ay, Marlon, le van a quedar 5 minutos. Pues si quiere usted abra su propio post.
Y escribo lo que, pues, lo que hablé.
Sí, sí, Marlon, sí, porque en los otros grupos muy probablemente ya están terminando de acordar algo, creería yo, porque ya en poquito quedan 5 minutos. Entonces, más
Vale,
bien, usted abre el suyo propio.
vale, listo.
Listo, Marlon, no problem. Well, guys, welcome back. I hope that most of you are just about to finish. I'm sure that you noticed that I added like a couple of extra minutes. I know that in some groups there were like more participants compared to other groups. And of course, trying to sum up and at the end, like create that final conclusion can take time for you like to discuss and to agree which information to put, in this case, on this post, different to what we usually do. In total, we had 6 groups. Let's have a look at the 3 that have already posted. Well, this group here didn't include the name. Aquí nos faltan nombres en el de la mitad. Let's start with Karen, Kiara, and Santiago. Santiago, please, could you read the conclusion that you got from your group?
Yes, teacher. Well, for the first question, what aspects are similar our upbringing, sorry. Well, our upbringing was more similar to the me soon in the academic aspects. Our parents were very demanding with our academic life, and they ever hoped the best grades from us, but they were permitted that we played with some neighborhoods and we played some street games like baseball and tangra, and they permit us that went to the bed anytime. About how we would upbringing our children. Well, in the other hand, if we will have children someday, we won't permit them as any technology things in their in their 5 years, and also they must go to sleep at adequate schedule.
Okay, Santiago, thank you very much. Let me edit just a couple of things. Very demanding in our academic life, they ever hope. Ever usually is used in questions, you know, in this case, because it is an statement, we would say they always. And careful here, guys. You said they were permitted. If we say they were permitted, that means that other people allowed them to do something, but you want to say that they actually permitted you. So this were is not necessary. Okay. How do you say tangara? Busquen tangara. Tangara no es tangara. It has a name in English. I'm sure that you will find it. Look it up. In this case, we have on one hand, and then the other expression will be on the other hand. And maybe, if you remember, well, of course, there are so many things that we studied. When we create the statement using if, we don't use future. Like if we have children someday, maybe we want, and notice that in the second part, you are using the future, okay? So you don't need to use future on both moments, only in one part, the part of the result. We won't permit them using in the figure, so they want to that. Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for your intervention. Let's have a look. Bueno, y estos anónimos, who's this answer from? Who wrote this post?
It's mine, please.
Mine is
Valentina.
Okay, Valentina. Okay. Read yours, please. Valentina.
Sorry, miss, can you repeat me?
Sure, could you read your post, please?
I think that is very well because I always, after school, don't let me play out with my friends because I had her, my little brother. And I will teach my children values from a very young age so that they are very educated and honest people. So I could give 10 more freedom calm. And yes, it's a little different since they inhibit me more from going out in my childhood.
Inhibited with childhood. Probably the first part is the one that actually needs a little correction. I think that it's very well. Remember that I always with capital letter because I always, well, I don't really get this part because you said I always after school. After and you said, okay, don't let me play out with my friend because I had care. Care alone doesn't work as a verb. I had to take care of my little brother. I'm just like missing this part. And well, the second part, just the little things of pronunciation. But yeah, the first part is a little bit confusing. Maybe you want to paraphrase a little bit. Thank you, Valerie. Group number 6, Hamilton, Manuel, and Vanessa. Hamilton, would you read your conclusions as a group, please?
Teacher, our conclusion is we will brain our children in a less strict way. But about all the tests.
Yeah, the one that you posted. Like the final information that you collected.
Okay, our upbringing, teacher, how do you pronounce that, please?
Upbringing. Up.
Our upbringing was more similar to Emily's because our parent was too very restricted about get out in the night, to be responsible, etc. Second, we will raise our children, giving them enough freedom to share with friends and discover the world for themselves. But it is necessary to put limits and not being too permissive and correcting them when it is required. In conclusion, we will bring our children in a less strict way.
Thank you, Hamilton. And of course, group number 6, just a couple of things. Parents is plural, right? So our parents were, in this case, we don't need verb to be to separate. We don't need to separate a verb to be from another verb. We're very restrictive. About is a preposition, so we have to use a verb with ing. About going out. Night is the only one that doesn't use in the. We have in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and this is only one special at night to be responsible. And the second part, pretty good and also pretty nice that you included a conclusion like that. Group number 6, thank you very much. Group from Diego, Natalia, and Manuela. Natalia, why like 5 answers if you only had to put 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes.
No, is the opinion of each one. But in the case for Manuela, Natal, and me, we have upbringing similar to Mitsun. And in the case of Diego, he had upbringing like Rafael.
Okay. What about the other answer related to how you would raise your children?
Okay, in the case of Manuela, in the case of Diego, he says that, let me check because, okay, he says that maybe he will bring up more similar to Emily, but with the specific rules, but sometimes more flexible. Yes, and in my case, I think that my bring up was good, and my mom did a good job, and for that reason, I will do bring up similar to Emily. And in the case of Manuela, she say that maybe she will bring up the similar to Emily, but less strict.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, for example, the way you presented, Natalia, that is how I wish that you had placed the information in here. Not like different answer, because I'm not saying that it is incorrect, of course, because that's what you did, but precisely like the intention to summarize it in order to present it in a more precise way. I was upbringing. Upbringing is not a verb. Remember that we said that upbringing is crianza. So would be my upbringing was more similar to blah, 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 blah. Okay, like answer B, like in this case. Keep that in mind, that would be like the organization, and also the one that you had in number 3. Well, because we're talking about past, let me check it quickly. Bringing. Just like Rafael, but my mom was very strict. Didn't permit going out in the evening, but we're playing in the street. Well, in this case, we don't need the capital letter, right? Remember that it is not necessary unless it is a common noun. I was having a look at this one because we're talking about the past. Probably your mom is still strict in present, but we're talking about that very specific experience from your past when you were growing up. Our bringing one or similar to Emily with a specific probably remember only I is the pronoun that we use with capital letters in any part of the sentence. In the other cases, well, we respect, you know, the spelling and blah, blah, blah. But here it is not necessary. We'll bring up our children like our mom. Unless you are still growing up, then we have to use the past. ¿Qué tanta mayúscula metida por ahí? And I think that our mom did. Para que haya concordancia. I think that our mom, of course, you are talking about every single mom, right? Did a good job with us. Like with all of you, not only with one person, right? Diego, Natalia, and Manuela, thank you very much. Guys, keep those corrections. Of course, I'm sure that you pay attention to your post in particular, but I'm sure that this information is relevant for all of us in terms of spelling and etc. The next post, we have Beatriz, Maria, and Jorge. Maria, which is the summary collected from your group? Would you read it, please?
Okay. Beatriz had a brain more similar to Emily because she could play piano and volleyball. And our parents didn't permit to going out in the evening. Maria had a brain more similar to Rafael. She could hang out with her friends, and her parents permitted going to parks and restaurants. Also in the present, she can do it.
Okay.
And two, we think that their upbringing of our children would more similar to Rafael because they could play in the street with their friends, and also they could hang out with their friends.
Okay, Maria, thank you very much. Well, it's pretty clear that you guys had a different process, of course. Beatriz would be the order of words, you know. Beatriz had a more similar upbringing to Emily because she could play the piano And you know, our parents, now that we are talking about Beatriz in particular, unless you are talking about all of you guys, of course. And our parents didn't permit us, no nos permitían, going out in the evenings. But in this case, this first part is about Beatriz's parents, right? I assume. Anne Maria had the same, more similar upbringing. Se va este. A more similar upbringing to Rafael. She could hang out with her friends and her parents permitted going to parks and the restaurants. Also in the present, she can do it. Well, I think that probably the first part is similar to Jorge as well, right? Because I don't see like this information in here. I think that the upbringing of our children would be, sería, or similar to Rafael because they could play in the street with their friends and also they could hang out with their friends. Okay, thank you very much. Group from Beatriz, Maria, and Jorge. I'm missing Sergio, Xiomara, Catherine, and Mendy. Xiomara, what is the summary? Although you wrote different answers, but I'm sure that you would sum it up.
This is sure. For Catherine, her upbringing was similar to Rafael. Her mother was sometimes relaxed and sometimes strict. For example, at school, she insists that we should have good grades, but she'd let me go out with her friends to birthday parties. Sergio is similar and Catherine. His upbringing was very flexible and very relaxed, but only when responded with all responsibility. When he then responded for the parents, was very strict. Mainly similar Catherine and Sergio. For me is similar Emily because my parents never allowed me to sleep away from home, nor did I stay at my friend's house, and they forbade me many outings. In conclusion, our parents had a similar upbringing for use because they were flexible but strict at the same time in the important aspects. So we feel that this was a good upbringing.
Okay, Xiomara, thank you very much. Well, guys, you all posted your answers. The idea was to summarize and noted that in some parts you had similar components. That is, for example, in the case of Catherine and Sergio, it looks like it was similar to Rafael, of course, with certain different aspects, of course. In the case of Mendy, it was more strict. So you're trying to sum up and not to put all the answers because this was the first part. I'm sure that this is what you collected at the beginning. And well, the idea in the conclusion was to talk about, careful with the spelling, conclusion, was to talk about how would you do that process of upbringing with your very own children, right? That was the idea of that part. Let me check it quickly. There are many capital letters. And notice how Xiomara, you had to suffer like changing me from her and him and there in order to avoid, you know, the confusion, because the idea was to summarize it. So I noticed that you had like to, okay, Catherine here. This is past. So careful with those things. Because there is one extra thing that we had to talk about tonight. Parents is plural. Different when we're talking about family, like that the concept of family in terms of grammar is singular. Parents, it is completely plural. In the past, remember that we're talking about when you were children, and you are not children anymore, guys. And I had a good behavior. The most important things at home is plural. Where, to be honest. Tolerance or respectful, and another thing is be honest. Okay. Because they were flexible but strict at the same time in important aspects, so we felt it was a good upbringing. Okay. And guys, thank you very much. Let me change the privacy. Now you can only read. Sigue trabajando. Don't confuse me. Guardar. Okay. Thank you guys for sharing your ideas. Of course, everybody has a different perspective, especially that here we are all from different ages. And guys, you already noticed that we are talking about past, because in the whole activity of the listening, in this case, as well that you were sharing your upbringing, we were talking about when we were children. And we already know different ways to talk about our past experiences. Let's say that officially, because I know that you know, we're going to add 2 more ideas that are helpful to talk about the past. One of them is used to. Of course, we have to be very careful with the context. In this case, the used to that we need is to talk about past states. And one important aspect that used to, let's say, offers, you know, to our situations is that these states are no longer true. That means that we are talking about events in our life that were part maybe to our routine. They were part of our habits, but in present, we don't have those actions, those activities anymore. Look at this example. It says, we used to live in New York when I was a child. It is implicit that we, and also evident actually, that this statement is about the past of a person, right? And with the idea of used to means that in present, this person probably is living on a different place. There didn't used to be a supermarket there. When did it open? Of course, we can talk about used to in negative. That means that in this case, the supermarket didn't exist in the past, and now it exists in present. Because used to is about past, we have to use the auxiliary didn't that you already know. And as you already know, when we use didn't, we don't have to make any transformation to the verb. And of course, we can also use it in questions. Did you used to have a garden? Once again, talking about an action that probably happened in the past, but in the present, it doesn't happen anymore. Used to is very common for that idea, you know, especially talking about those moments that are gone in our lives. You may be thinking, but past simple is also something that is gone. Yeah, but you can say that last year you went to San Gil, but maybe this year you're going to San Gil again. So it is an action that can happen at any point. But the idea of used to is that it is only from your past, and that's the place where it belongs. Diego says, is it possible to use used to and past continuous in the same sentence? Yeah, remember that past continuous works when we were talking about the narrative tenses. Past continuous works as the context, you know, like the general environment of a situation. We can say I'm going to make up something in this moment, like I was living in a little town and I used to go to the park every day, something like that. See? So notice the past continuous was playing like the context, like to help us create a mental picture of the situation. And they used to talking about that activity that was part of my routine and my habits in the past. So it works, actually, it enriches the situation. Yes, Diego. Okay, thank you. Used is also to talk about actions, not only talking about states, any action that relates to the past, and we want to make, let's say, sure that it doesn't happen in present anymore. For example, if I say I used to go swimming every Thursday, she used to smoke, but she gave up a few years ago. So with that idea, let's put it like that, with that intention, we are letting everybody know that this action doesn't happen in my present anymore. It's part of my past, but it's not part of my present, okay? This is probably the most common, I think, tense, besides past simple, of course, when we are talking about those events from the past. There is also a second grammatical structure that we can use, that is would. Probably you remember would when we are talking about future. If I say I would like, I'm sorry for the Spanish, but just like to make a clear picture of it. If I say I would like to study, me gustaría estudiar. And immediately the idea is about future, right? But of course, when we have a clear context, we can use would to talk about the past. There is only one mini restriction. Would is only for past actions. We can't use would when we're talking about states. Let me refresh your memory when we are talking about states. States would be the verb to be, would be things like hate, love, prefer. Those are states. Or you love or you don't love, or you hate or you don't hate. That's the reason why they are not really considered actions. Those are states or feelings that you have. Would is only used for actions. You can say, for example, I would go on a long bike, or I used to go, okay? We can say my dad would read me amazing stories, or my dad used to read me amazing stories. Used to is possible for two situations, for actions and states. Would only for actions. In general idea, we can consider that would is a little bit more formal, basically, than used to. But in terms of grammar, the restriction is very, let's say, important. Would be like, yo jugaba, yo leía. Remember that past simple would be, yo jugué, yo leí. But this other type of past that we have in Spanish, like that, jugaba, leía, me divertía, would be talking about using would, okay? Guys, any questions about used to and would? Hi. Someone said something, but I didn't hear it. Okay. And of course, as I was telling you at the beginning of this intervention, we can't forget past, right? Of course, past simple will be the forever, probably first choice when we want to talk about an event that already happened in the past. The thing is that past simple is not incorrect, you know, but up to this point, guys, remember that you are becoming B1 users of the language. It is a little bit too plain, you know, to talk about only past simple when we're talking about the past. In terms of grammar, you know, the book says that the past simple doesn't emphasize the repeated or continuous nature of actions or situations. While used to is giving us the implicit idea that this action was part of your routine, you know, like you repeated this action a lot, but in the present, it doesn't happen anymore. So I'm not telling you that used to is good and past simple is bad. No, It's just like to give a more variety in terms of your intention when you are talking about any action from your past. At the end of the day, we can say whatever we want, you know, from past in past simple. But now we can include two more, let's say, structures, used to and would, when we are talking about past, and that is the intention. The actions were repeated. In my present, they don't happen anymore. So usually we talk about these structures from activities of our childhood. Maybe there are some things that we keep from our childhood, but in present, it is more probable to have other activities compared to that. Well, guys, I'm gonna give you a mini tiny homework similar to the one that we had the first day when we started our cycle. Let me share the screen with the activity because we're about to finish the first part of the session. Okay. This is what you're going to do. You have here 12 sentences. They are incomplete. You have to read, of course, and then to choose which is the best form to complete them. We have used to, would do, and use, only used. The idea that you analyze all the information, okay? In some cases, let me see, for example, in this case, they said used to, would, or maybe used or to. Excuse me, used to or would, both at the same time. So please read all the possibilities before you like immediately choose one, because in some cases, as we already stated, we can use the two tenses and the idea is the same. In other cases, it is more like a grammatical thing, you know, in order to confuse you a little bit. Well, I'm not going to give you the answers in some of the cases, but my point is that read the whole statement. I'm going to send you here the link. Similar to what we did on day one, okay? Remember that it was for you to share. Then tomorrow, when we begin our session, we will check your answers. Do you have any question about the homework, guys? The mini homework is only 12 sentences. Escucho que están hablando, pero hay como un problema de sonido, Manuel. Pareciera como algo del micrófono, lo siento.
Profe, ¿no me escucha?
Un poquito mejor, realmente.
Sí, la pregunta es, ¿cuándo se utiliza use? Y de pronto would no aplicaría porque no me quedó como completamente claro.
Used to no tiene restricción. El que tiene restricción es would. Es, digamos, al revés. Would only for actions, activities. Used to for actions and for feelings. For example, you can say that you used to love watching cartoons. We can't say I would love watching cartoons. That would be like the main restriction. Okay.
¿Puede repetir eso que dijiste? O sea, used to es para acciones, para...
Actions and feelings. Yo puedo decir, I used to play Nintendo and I used to love pizza. No problem. But I can't use would to say I would love pizza. Would is only for actions. That is like the main difference.
¿Y would es para... es la que tiene restricción?
Would is the one with restrictions. Si would es la única que tiene restricción. Esto no importa. Acciones o feelings o states. Mientras que would, solo acciones.
Pero Miss, use only I use to affirmative, no?
No, we can use to affirmative, negative, and questions. For example, I can ask you, did you used to play volleyball in high school? And you can tell me, yes, I used to play volleyball every day, blah, 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 blah. Or you can tell me, no, I didn't used to play volleyball. I used to play soccer. So used to could be in affirmatives, negatives, and questions. Also would, you know. But remember, would only for actions. Probably, I'm going to add. Okay, Jorge, that is a good way to summarize it. Maybe I'm going to add to the presentation because we have like to change a list of state verbs. Algunas veces lo que son estados es diferente y de pronto como para agregarles y refrescarles la memoria cuáles son los verbos de estado. Todo lo que sea sentimientos, todo lo relacionado a sentimientos, pero también hay 5 tipos de verbos de estado. Entonces, primero eso, sería para mañana. Y guys, recuerden que mañana en los 2 bloques vamos a estar trabajando. Listo, yo ya les había contado que la profe Laura tiene una cuestión personal. Entonces, solo por mañana, el primer bloque trabajamos normal y en el segundo bloque nos conectamos nuevamente. ¿Listo? Entonces, para que de pronto no se confundan. Igual seguimos avanzando con el contenido normal. Solo que por mañana, en el segundo bloque, no va a haber el cambio que siempre hacemos. Solo por mañana. ¿Listo? Guys, ¿quedaron con el link de la tarea? Se lo vuelvo a enviar de pronto. Mejor. Ahí está, por si lo quieren compartir. ¿Listo? Guys, see you tomorrow. Bye, bye.
See you, teacher.
Take care, guys.
Bye. Bye, Miss. Bye.